Hey,
How do we get back
hey, hey.
We did it.
there? Vote
I
or
need a
not?
shirt.
What
I
we
don't know if that's
really
gonna help.
need, basically, in terms of what you're saying, is these, um, I'll say, artists or entertainers whose lives completely change in terms of being an entertainer, rapper, singer, what have you, to give back to their communities more,
Wonderful.
Yeah, those communities are the most,
more.
you know,
They need to do
hurting. They
more
hurt.
Well,
because
do you
they
think
do a
that's
lot.
as
They do a lot
easy
of
as you
philanthropy
saying?
work and what have you, but they need to do more.
But
They
my
can
thing
do
is to
more.
you, right? So let's say you're a big artist. Your payroll for everything that you need to be that artist is probably huge. This is me just playing devil's advocate. So you're paying for your friend who basically picks out your sneakers, your sister who drives you around, or like you're paying all these people. You're basically paying your family to work for you. You're paying your friends to work for you. And now I
Okay.
have to pay all these people, and then you're asking me to give back to the community. But
I mean, you don't necessarily have to
in their head,
pay
they
those
feel like
people.
they are because they, i.e., took 10, 15, 20 people out of the hood.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you
but
continue,
there's a
and I'm
lot
gonna
more
respond
people
to
left.
that.
No, no,
I'm,
that's
I'm, I'm
where
gonna
I end
respond
at.
to that. All right.
Respond.
So,
Go.
in response to that, hold on. It goes back to my point from earlier, as far as what I was saying with Master P, right? So his, I guess, proposal was for artists who are in a position like what you're talking about to get together and talk about opportunities or just get their heads together and talk about ideas and brainstorm ways in which they can put other people on to become business owners or have create opportunities for wealth. But in terms of what you're saying specifically, why is it, for example, that Jay Z is just doing his own thing, Diddy doing his own thing, Rick Ross doing his
That's not
own
true.
thing? Hold on.
Just make
Rihanna doing. Hold on, let me finish. Rihanna doing her own thing. Who's another big name? Beyonce doing her own thing. Um, Artists
sir.
like that, why are they all doing their own thing separately versus coming together and again doing more philanthropic, what's the word? Philanthropic, right? Work or
Yeah.
what have you to create
It
more
sounds like you
opportunities
want a hip
for,
hop
let's
UNICEF.
say, black and brown people. Why aren't they doing more? And I'm not negating or saying what you just said is right, right? They paid for whatever they paid for. That's coming out their budget. But if they put their heads together, they can, I guess, create things to put other people or to help out other communities that are failing. For example,
Can I
homelessness,
say something?
you just talking about. Go
Can
ahead.
I say something? All
Go
these
ahead.
people that you name do philanthropic work. Okay. And my thing is with that, there we live in a country where uh, us as the minority are basically limited. So even though these people are rich and they have a certain power, they are rich and only have that certain power, and they're most powerful within our demographic. They can't just go into any room, in
I
every
don't know if
room,
that specifically is
and,
true. Only
and
our
demand.
demographic, I don't think that's true. But I'm gonna let you finish.
It is just I feel like just because it's Jay Z or Beyonce or Rihanna, they can't just walk in a room and be like, "We're doing this and we need this done,"
He's got a point.
because this is still
I mean,
corporate white America. Uh, so it's like
I,
as much as they want to do, they can't do it in full. To my
I think
to what I believe.
Okay.
I think we're
I hear you.
underestimating the amount of wealth that these people have and the control that they do have. If you start to take that away from these white businesses
You're right, but
that profit off of them, what do
I
they
think
have?
But how do you
I
take
think
that from them? Because
I mean, in the current system we have,
the profit
not much. But if you start to change that, all of the power, what I think most of this money should go to is to education for the kids coming up. So I think there should be more schools, more funds in the schools than our neighborhoods. So it's like you're starting the next generation ahead of where the previous generations were. They're going to know more from the jump, so they don't fall into the same pitfalls that we did, because there's more resources allocated to them. So it's like, I think a lot of kids get in trouble because there's no after school programs. A lot of kids go to school just to eat. Like, it's just a lot of things that we could simply solve with all of these millions of dollars when they're wasting it. Not necessarily saying these people that we name, but there are artists or people that have other activities going on in these cities that can go to fund the kids, because that's the really most important
Yeah, but
resource that we have.
my thing is what you're asking basically is for every artist of color in the world to come together and say, all of our money is
I
going
didn't say
towards
that.
only our.
I said artists
That's
A
what it would
large
take.
amount of that money should be
have
spent in our
reached a
communities. That's what I
certain
think.
basically level of I guess financial wealth or what have you. Like I'm naming these names specifically for a reason. Beyonce, Jay Z, Diddy, whatever, whatever, etc.,
Near
etc.
billion.
These people
Got it.
who have reached that stature to come together and do more and not do it separately. Not saying that they're not
I think
putting their heads
everybody here
together
has
to do
a pretty
things, but they
solid
should
point,
be doing more, I think.
but
And I don't think it necessarily falls on
it's it's
them. I
it's a
don't think it
lot of
necessarily falls on them
it's a
It
lot of
doesn't.
pieces to that. I think everybody
because
here
But
even
has a
I was
solid
besides
just
point.
going
them,
into what we were
Like
talking about.
like
the common people can affect the neighborhood too.
And
BJ
they're
said
doing great
something
work.
about
They all
education,
doing
and I
great
think
work
that's very
separately.
important. Like you can't really
But
start anything without knowing about anything, so I think that's important. I think Eric has a point where I think there should be more collaboration between, um, people of color who happen to be a part of, like, which we don't know, right? Which we don't know what is happening or not, but
Which we
I
don't
think
know
there
if
should be more
it is
collaboration
happening
because
already.
in the back end, which usually, and I would sorry to cut you off, Chris, but on the back end, I feel like a lot of these artists are connected
maybe,
with
or at least
some of the people I'm talking
conversations,
about, or have partnerships with them. That's not
right? That's
put
not,
on a
yeah,
map
that
or is talked
that
about
the
in the
public
news
eye
or
is
the
not
media,
necessarily privy to.
because
You're
that's
absolutely
usually
right.
how it happens
Yeah, I'm sure
anyway.
these conversations
Like
happen.
fucking Diddy will just, yeah, Diddy just came out like
Yeah, that
gave us
promise
the school
promise
on Truth
academy.
Fifth.
Yeah,
Is that Harlem Children's Zone or Success Academy or what have you?
no,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
Promise
Yeah,
Promise
yeah,
Academy.
Academy
yeah,
Yeah,
is
right.
like
the
stuff
Illinois
like
one.
that happens just out the blue, but
But I
that's
think,
not
but I
talked
think
about in the
Dellz
media.
has a
Yeah.
point too, where it's like
But
we do
continue,
live in a
Chris.
capitalist society that is controlled by white people, so it's not necessarily so easy for these individuals, because they are people
Yeah.
of color, just to get into those networks and say, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do." Like,
Create your own network,
They are
Yeah,
in a
this goes
way.
back. Well, we didn't talk about that last.
because
About
They
the
are
chat,
in a
I
but
think
way.
we're underestimating the buying power of the black people.
I think that
We
we're also,
have about $1 trillion
We
in
control the
buying
world.
power,
That's just a
I
fact.
think
and it's
that we
like we keep
also
Black dollar
choosing
underestimate,
to
controls the
to
world.
not
Dell's point,
invest in
like
ourselves.
the deviousness of people that are in power, historically speaking. Like, we've had systems in the past where it's like, okay,
That's true.
this is a prosperous
Hmm.
black community, like Black Wall Street, like yeah, yeah, in Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, bomb. Like, I'm not necessarily
Oh
putting
yeah,
that
and
evil on
it's just
people now, but I don't put it
completely
past anybody.
taking off the map.
And it's like,
They
I
set
had to
that
learn
place on
about that
fire.
in
They
high
blew it up.
school,
and even talking
and
about
I was like a sophomore in high school, and I was like, this is like happening in the 1920s or whatever
it's not
have you,
taught.
like a prosperous black community that stands out on his own. Like, I had no idea like
Not too
Mm-hmm.
long
anything
ago.
like that was even going on or even possible back then. Like, let media tell it. Like, every single black person in that
Hmm.
time was like working in a
But
bar with a zoot suit or something like that, cleaning out dishes or something like that, because we weren't allowed to be in those type of
hmm
spaces. I had no idea anything like that back then was going on.
Yeah, like we didn't have doctors.
right. But I was going to say that those type of communities still exist today, but in smaller scales, like down
Yeah,
south.
Killer Mike's
Killer
always
Mike, like
advocating for something. He's on it.
he's connected with these people, for
Yeah, I
example.
like
That's a
Killer
big
Mike too.
one. Like he's really
I
connected
love
as
Killer
far as
Mike.
that. Like that exists, but in smaller scales. That's today, but it should be
They're
more of
only on
that too.
smaller scales because larger scales brings more attention, and more attention causes what happened back then.
Yeah, we need to get to a
I don't
point
think we
where
let that get
if we get threatened, we coming out with these
You
guns
just
that I
got,
don't want to
you'll
exist.
just
and we
Go wild with your knife
we
or
coming out
blade or
fighting and
whatever.
shooting to kill whoever try to come in and disrupt our community. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but bro, even with protecting your own stuff, look at the Black Panthers, bro. Done. They stopped a whole movement, bro. And they
today,
use black people to
hold on.
stop
But
a whole
today,
movement.
if that same type of movement was created, it would not, I guess, crumble the
I don't
way
know. I
these
don't
kind of things,
underestimate.
the way it has in the
Bro,
I
past.
think you're underestimating greed.
bro, they use black people to stop black people. You
That's
understand
true,
that?
but the ideology or what have you, the idea of the Black Panthers, that still exists today, but in a different way.
It still exists.
And there's people
It still
who model that, but again, in smaller scales. But they're not doing. I don't even know how to explain that, but that
right,
still
but you would
exists
have to
in
change
a different way.
everybody's mindset.
There's
Everybody's mindset.
yeah, but
Because there's always a weak moment in a person's life where they're like, oh, this person said, I'm gonna get this for doing that. And that's all it takes sometimes. You just need to find 1, 2, 3.
Like that seems like the easier option. I'm gonna take this out.
true.
It's like
Instead
not
of,
seeing
grinding
Bro,
with
they're
my
gonna give
people.
me
saying
money
not
to
seeing
end
the
this.
forest
I'm taking
past the
it.
trees.
That's all it takes. And you
Just seeing what's in front
ended
of you and
something
not
that
paying
was
attention to the bigger
built.
picture of things. But like, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody's wrong
Right.
in this conversation. Like, personally.
But again, to my
What was
Yeah,
point,
it's kind of sad.
it exists.
It's deep.
It still exists today, but in a different way, bro.
Yeah.
And most
No,
of
I agree.
those Black Panthers, people who've been locked up or what have you in the past, they're a lot older now. They've been released, and they're doing community work. For example, in some of the classes I went to, as far as restorative justice, the anti violence work, um, I was in rooms, for example, with a Black Panther or two, not even knowing that until these persons said it. I used to do X, Y, Z. I knew these people, and they are doing the work still, but in different ways. That's why I said that, because I have like evidence of these people who are doing work, but in a different way, on smaller scales, but just in smaller scales. I'm gonna just put it like that,
Yeah, but
in a
my
different
thing
way.
is with that is how many people go into those rooms? How many people are looking for those outlets in our community? It's not a
I
lot.
feel like in the type of communities we come from, a lot of them, and that's the reason why gun violence,
People
prime
are looking
example,
for it.
has dropped the way it has. And there's what do you call it? First responders who do the work they do, as far as where we at today. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that people don't know about, or there's not enough light shed on that. Erica Ford, for example, homegirl who was at DMX service, the woman that always got the fro out, gray fro with the orange clothes, she always got that out. Her work is anti-violence, creating peace in the community, and they got billions of dollars recently. I don't know the exact number to fund the things that I'm talking about: the anti-violence work, first responder work, the work to pretty much be in these communities and prevent kids from fucking becoming criminals or
That's where it
getting
starts. You gotta
involved
start
with
with the
gangs and
kids.
things of that nature. So the work is being done, but again, in a different way.
There's no
This
light.
is my point.
My thing is unfortunately, without media
I don't think it's
attention,
necessarily that you need media attention.
The media,
it's not
Yeah,
major work.
it's
So,
the
like
media
I think that
attention is
ties
not
into what
necessary. I'm
BJ
gonna
was
just say that
saying. And I'm
because the
sorry
work
to
is
cut you
happening.
off, Eric. I think it was
The
tying
work
into
is
what
happening,
BJ was saying earlier. Like, it's like just like having mentors there
very good.
that also understand you have to be not only
and that's
you have to be
part of
not
what that
only an
is too.
example for your
Mentors,
community, but example for the
credible
people in your
messages.
community too. Like, what does it say for me if I work at a community center or whatever have you, but I'm also gangbanger or something like that? Like, it doesn't add up. Like, you have to be the example in your community that you want, like, your community to be. What does
Hold
it
on.
say?
And I'm gonna fight you on this one. Go back and say that one more time. Man. I just want to make sure
We're
I
not
heard you
saying
correctly.
he means like an active gang
Because I'm
member.
not
Like
gonna
you go
hold
to the
you.
community, you work in
I'm
the community
as a
center, then you
kid.
go outside and you riding out on niggas. Like,
All right,
But hold on, what does it mean to be a
let me
gangbanger?
right. let me
And I'm
put it
saying
like
this because there
Like
are
you
people who are
riding out
blood,
on niggas,
Crips,
nigga.
and
let me put
gang
it like
involved who are doing the work that I'm exactly talking about. Like niggas is OGs and shit
what
like that,
message
and
does it
they're
send?
running this work.
What message?
Like they're being given fucking opportunities to be program managers to make 60, 70, $80,000 to make
All
sure
right.
that crime, gang involvement, and all this stuff is not happening in the communities. They're the ones
Okay.
that are being pulled into the white
Thank
office
you
and
for
shit
that
like that,
unsolicited
so that they're
testimony.
the ones that
Like
I think I.
what I'm trying to say. I said if you let
But
me get
again,
it
Chris,
out.
what were you trying to say? What were you trying to say just now?
Selective hearing.
What I'm saying is
Selective
this.
hearing, ladies
All
and
that
gentlemen. Selective.
Nah. But hold on, I'm
all
gonna let
that is
Chris
nice
go
and
because
dandy.
I
What
probably
I'm
didn't hear him
saying is
correctly.
this, because I'll use my own personal experience as a kid. I like how you held him.
But again,
I'll use my own personal experience as a kid,
I got the
right?
sauce.
I used to be a part
It's
of like
the
after
sauce.
school programs or whatever have you, and I knew everybody that worked in there. That from like everybody local. So I knew all like the counselors or whatever have you, and people that watch the kids, interact with the kids. If you act like one way in that space, but if you local and I'm in the neighborhood and I see you acting a totally different way outside of that space, for example, I saw one of the counselors that was in there. He used to play video games with us and stuff, like on Saturday just to keep us off the street. But as soon as he done with that, he's robbing somebody else 5 blocks away. And we
Mm-hmm.
see that. So what does it say for the person that's working in that space with those kids and he's like this, and he's this cool cat or whatever have you, watching all these kids, making sure that they're safe in one space, but then he's messing up somebody's life
He
in
code
another
switching,
space,
but in a bad
and
way.
it's all in
Yeah,
the
code
same like
switching.
ecosystem. It's all in the community. But I'm supposed to trust
Mm-hmm.
him inside this community center, even though
I
if
hear
I
what you're saying.
leave and I get paid or whatever have you, and I'm picking up
Mm-hmm.
my paycheck, he might be waiting around the corner with something, you know, to mess up my life. So it's like you have to be the example that you perpetuate
Yeah.
inside
Right,
that space and in your community.
right.
I
I
can't be
agree.
no counselor and then
And
be
to
a bank
my
robber.
point, I got a little excited that
A little, just a little bit.
a lot of people who are
Oh
leading
yeah,
by
absolutely,
example and doing a lot of
absolutely. Nobody's saying that.
anti-violence
Absolutely, I know that.
No,
and
Absolutely.
Eric, we know there's a lot of
It's probably a lot.
ex
work.
gang members or
They're
gang
the ones
members
It's
that's
a
that
lot
controlling
more.
this whole movement, which is what they call credible messengers today. And
yeah,
that's
because they
and
live
the
there.
mayor, people who are in office are keeping an eye on these type of peoples and
All I'm gonna
programs
say is
in the communities. And which again, to my point earlier, is the reason why gun violence and all this gang violence and all just violence in general is at a lower number than it was compared 20 years ago. I'll say that.